All right, folks, we are hours before Game 4. This is not a closeout game. Sixers are up 2-1, but they take real control of this series if they win today. We don't know yet if Pascal Siakam will play or not. That will be obviously a huge development that we will find out We'll probably not find out even in pre-game press conferences. We will most likely find out just before the game starts. If he does play, it will be interesting to see if he's got the same mobility to take people off the dribble and stress the defense in the way that he really has for parts of the series, especially in Game 1. No injuries on the part of the Sixers, so that's good. Joel looks great. He seems like he's having fun. Jimmy Butler's really hitting his stride. He's come alive since his Game 1 performance that was really sort of head-scratching and frustrating for some. I will tell you that this is a series where Brett Brown has really shown his chops, for 6 years he's focused on developing a program, developing players, building something around a new philosophy to go sort of against the grain in many ways. For where the NBA was heading. You look out west and you look at the Houston Rockets and the Warriors, and you see a game that's being played very differently from how the Sixers constructed their team, their philosophy. And the big questions going into this playoff were, can Brett Brown make adjustments? Last year in the playoffs, you saw that the Sixers really were constructed in a way where they had limited options on how they could beat you. They were really good tricks, but they were sort of a one-trick pony. The Celtics took that away. This year, what you see is a team that lacked cohesion heading into the playoffs. That was a major concern, but is far more versatile in how they can attack matchups and attack teams. And you are just watching, from my standpoint, a master class on adjustments by a coach. Biggest criticism for Brett Brown was he didn't adjust in games. He didn't adjust outside of games. I think we're starting to see that, he was trying to master a style in the regular season and over the last few years, and now he's confident that they have the base of a style and now they can start to adjust. So great job so far by Brett. We'll see if Nick Nurse can pull an adjustment of his own. I think he's going to need to. I think the only way that the Raptors really change the outcome of this series at this point is to rely on Marc Gasol to stretch the defense from the top of the arc and hit a bunch of threes to force the Sixers to play defense in a very different way. We'll see. Nick Nurse is a first-year coach. He has been punched in the mouth in the last 2 games. They have tried to rely on Kawhi Leonard to carry them. One player can only carry a team so much. He could score 50 tonight, and it may not matter. So we'll have a very interesting game on our hands, and we at PFO will have a podcast. I believe we're recording a full podcast tonight with Chris Deibler and Brian Jacobs. The burner will be recorded after tonight's game. So look out for that, and I look forward to this game on a number of levels, because if they win this game and they take control of this series, it actually becomes really interesting, because this was probably the worst matchup for them in the league, this and possibly Boston. with Boston looking in trouble against Milwaukee and what's going on out west, I think things get really interesting as far as what we can expect and what our cause for optimism should be for the Sixers moving forward. So, we still got to win 2 games here. They're really only halfway through this series, but they are looking really in good shape to go to the conference finals, and there is every reason for fans to be excited about this team, about this coach. I think you can put the Fire Brett Brown takes away, put them right in the sarcasm category from now on. So feel free to use them, but they should only be used in jest from now on. He's coaching his ass off, and I will say that Joel is playing his ass off. Like, defensively, he is everything we thought he would be. Ben Simmons, again, defensively is worlds better than maybe we thought when he was drafted. He has become just a complete queen of the chessboard, where Brett can use him in so many different ways defensively, that people should really be excited about this. And the other guys, Jimmy Butler is quarterbacking the offense right now in a really good way. I was very critical after game 1 about his decision making and his shot selection, but since then, he's sort of taken control of the offense in a really good way. Getting Joel rolling in space in game 3 was huge. It really exposed some of the limitations that Marc Gasol has defensively, as good as he was and still remains as a pure one-on-one post defender. He is 34 years old, and he's going to struggle when moving laterally. And I would argue that, they should continue to do that and try to make Marc Gasol look like Boban defensively. If you allow Boban to play one-on-one in the post or just play drop coverage, he's going to look like a good defender. If you make him move laterally, he looks unplayable. They need to attack Marc Gasol in a very similar way. So, listen, there's a lot of great stuff here. They not only can put the Raptors away for this year with a resounding win tonight, but you could argue that if they win tonight in the fashion that they have in games 2 and 3, that Kawhi is pretty much gone from Toronto. He is very unlikely that he would come back. And if you look at that Toronto franchise, their prospects for the future, it becomes pretty bleak. If Kawhi leaves, they have a lot of huge contracts. They have Pascal Siakam, who's an amazing player and an awesome asset for the money, but he is surrounded by aging veterans who are all making really big money and would likely be net negative assets moving forward. So the Raptors would, for all intents and purposes, be eliminated as a threat in the East for the foreseeable future with a win in this series. So lots of things to think about, both for this year and for the future. The Sixers, it may be hyperbole, and it's certainly too early, but a win tonight in the same fashion that they've won recently could put their mark on the Eastern Conference for the next few years. So lots of great things to look forward to tonight. So it's a 3:30 game. We're hours before the game, but we look forward to a good night, and make sure to watch for the burner and listen to that tonight with Chris Dibler and with Brian Jacobs.